Torres to PSG is very close indeed, imminent in fact, with big updates from Ornstein, Ben Jacobs and Fabrizio Romano. What does this mean for Barcola? Liverpool still seen as the front runners, but no agreement on the price between PSG and Liverpool is certain. A further report today that Arsenal will hijack. I'm going to give you my opinions on that story, and I want yours as well. We're talking Lewis Hall to Manchester United as a further two reports come out today. One that's credible, one that we're all going to challenge because we must. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. Plus, we look at the Enzo Fernandez price, 120 plus. Is that going to reduce between now and the end of the window? Is the long game being played here by Man City or maybe other suitors like Real Madrid? Plus, Arsenal close to selling one of their academy players. He's very, very close to joining a London rival. Like, share, and subscribe. We're going to delve into these stories on the Done Deal Show. My stance hasn't changed. I still believe that he will become a Liverpool player. There hasn't been a credible enough story for me to believe that it's going to be hijacked or it's going to or not going to happen. In fact, let me take that back. For me, it's more likely not to happen because Liverpool don't meet the asking price than it is for another club to steal it from Liverpool whilst they're willing to pay the going rate. So in case I didn't explain that very well, as long as Liverpool and PSG come to an agreement on a fee, I think he's going Liverpool. Of course, there's a world where Liverpool step away and say it's too expensive. I don't necessarily look at that as that's not a deal being hijacked. But another club then comes in and says, well, we're willing to pay it, and Liverpool are not. It's not necessarily a hijack in the same degree. If there's a feeling that if Liverpool hold out, they'll get him for 90 million, but somebody else comes in and pays 120, you could argue that is. But if PSG are not going to yield, and we need all the facts on this, I don't think it's going to happen. As I say, I think Liverpool, and I'm giving you quite an obscure reasoning because I think it's likely he goes Liverpool. Now, a story has emerged again today that Arsenal have had a boost as Liverpool are ready to abandon Bradley Barcola talks. He says Liverpool are prepared to walk away from talks over the transfer of Bradley Barcola as they struggle to reach an agreement with Paris Saint-Germain, leaving Arsenal on alert. The Reds are yet to replace Mo Salah, who joined Trabzonspor as a free agent last week, and have earmarked the French winger as a top target. Talks have been ongoing for some time, but an agreement is not yet thought to be close. According to The Athletic, PSG have set their asking price at around £145 million. And as much as this might put on Arsenal on red alert, again, I think this is, and I want to say this for the sausages listening, I think this is a bit of a Fugazi story. I think this is using Arsenal's name. Maybe you've got a bit of PSG pushing this information out. Maybe you've got a bit of Bradley Barcola's agents here pushing the name of other clubs out that they'd be on red alert. Not saying there's talks or agreements in place, but saying that maybe. I feel there is a little gamesmanship here going on from somebody because there is no view that Arsenal are going to come in and pay £145 million for Bradley Barcola either. The situation with Vinicius Jr. is very different, and it's now been confirmed by The Athletic, by David Ornstein, and many other top-level reporters that there was a real seriousness of Vinicius Jr. joining. In fact, there was a belief that he would join if he didn't get an offer from Real Madrid that he was happy with. That isn't a threat. That is essentially a promise. That isn't using a club to yield a better deal. That is you basically leaving if you don't get a better offer. Not Arsenal are not interested. Let's just tell the media they are, and maybe Real Madrid will take the bait. And that's what I think this story is. I think this story is a really weak attempt. And I'm not even sure it's come from anybody official. This may just be some media outlets looking for something to talk about. And I thought that was important to address because 3 or 4 people sent me this article this morning with Terry, what do you think? And as I said before, and I'll say again, I think this story is a little bit fugazi. I think this story, and maybe I'll have egg on my face here and Arsenal come in for Barcola, and I think he would be a very good player for them. But if I'm being honest with you, I look at this story and I can't help but think it don't feel right. It doesn't feel right. There isn't enough noise about it. it feels off. Now, you may disagree with me. You may want to challenge me. You may think that Arsenal are in this race, that Arsenal are pushing for this. But I'd love your thoughts. I'd love your opinions on this in the comment section below. Now, another story that I want to talk about is...
Right, elsewhere, there's not too much going on. Before I get to your comments and questions, there is an interesting story that we've been expecting to happen. It looks like it is going to happen now that PSG are closing in on signing Ferran Torres from Barca. Now, why is that important from an Arsenal point of view? Well, potentially gives Barcelona another £50 million or so to play with in the transfer market. And we know and are fully expecting them to have another play at Julian Alvarez, who is certainly a player that Arsenal are continuing to look at and fostering ambitions of maybe being able to have one big push at getting him before the window shuts. But we know that at the moment Barcelona is his preference. It sounds like he's got a meeting today over at Atletico with Simeone. It looks like Simeone and the sporting director at Atletico, or the chairman at Atletico, have been kind of trying to avoid him, Alvarez, since he's come back, and he's much to Alvarez's annoyance, but he has got a meeting booked in with Simeone today, and it'll be interesting what emerges from that meeting a little bit later. But if PSG do complete this signing of Ferran Torres for around £50 million, that might give Barca a little bit more financial sort of muscle to offer something closer to what Atletico are potentially looking for. They, remember, are saying release clause, €500 million or nothing. He's not going. It'll be interesting to see if they do stick to that stance, especially if Alvarez really starts to kick off behind the scenes. So that'll be an interesting one from an Arsenal point of view. Elsewhere, there's not really much going on. I've seen some links to Jules Koundé at the moment. Nothing with any substance. So it's all pretty quiet in the transfer market at the time of recording this. Anyway, at the time of recording this, and remember, everything can change very, very quickly when it comes to Arsenal. Right, I've got a couple of comments and questions now before I wrap this one up for today. I've got one from Jason, first of all, on the Discord, who says 2 points. One, I don't want to see Rashford coming in as our left winger. I think it is 100% the wrong direction. That said, I think Neto is an even worse option. He actually brings significantly less to the wing than Martinelli. Number two, I think unless we bring in a true ceiling raiser on the left wing, sticking with Eze and Solis may be our best option. A second year under Arteta should see Eze more settled with a better understanding of what is required. It also gets both Eze and Odegaard on the pitch at the same time, with Bruno G and his decisive passing and Rice at the base of midfield. They should both have confidence to really express themselves offensively. What do you think? I mean, look, I said it yesterday. I would much rather Arsenal really dramatically improve that left side this summer. I think, going into the window is a position I think I've most wanted Arsenal to sort out. And again, we've said that for the last few windows, really. So if they finish this window and they haven't dramatically improved it, then I will be slightly bothered about it. But what I don't want to see happen, and what I spoke about in yesterday's show, is just signing someone that kind of feels like you're signing someone for the sake of it. And Pedro Neto, for example, as I said yesterday, would feel like that. I don't look at that as, 2 years ago, I look at him and think that improves Arsenal. Now, with what Arsenal need and where they are, I don't look at Pedro Neto and think that improves Arsenal. It might come in and be an absolute success and blow us all away. But at the moment, as I look at it, it doesn't. I wouldn't expect that to happen. So I don't want to see Arsenal do that and then lose
Barcola can stretch a defence horizontally, attack space behind the back line, and create situations where defenders are forced into difficult decisions. That could give Arsenal another way of breaking down opponents who sit extremely deep. And if Arsenal really are prepared to push forward, the word hijack suddenly becomes relevant. A transfer that appeared to be heading in one direction can change incredibly quickly when another major club enters the picture. Then we move to Lewis Hall. Manchester United's reported interest in the left-sided defender has created another intriguing storyline. Hall's versatility is arguably his biggest asset. He can contribute from defence, step into midfield, and help his team progress possession from deeper areas. United are constantly looking for players capable of adapting to different tactical demands, and that profile could explain why Hall has attracted attention. But there is a major question surrounding any potential move. Would his current club actually be willing to negotiate with Manchester United? And more importantly, would the player see Old Trafford as the right destination for the next stage of his career? Until those questions are answered, this remains a developing situation rather than a guaranteed transfer. Now to perhaps the biggest financial story of the day: Enzo Fernandez and Manchester City. The rumours have been building, but the latest focus is now on the potential fee. If a valuation has been established, it could determine whether Manchester City are genuinely prepared to take this from speculation into serious negotiations. Enzo's profile makes the interest understandable. He's comfortable receiving the ball under pressure, possesses excellent distribution, and can influence the rhythm of a game from midfield. For a club that places